Hello everybody, VG Time here. One of the leaders from the new Realm of the Gods set that has caught me quite by surprise has been none other than SSG Son Goku, the Crimson Warrior. This leader is often compared to none other than the reboot Soul Striker leader due to one of his skills, but I believe that with everything that it has going for it, it is a decent alternative to the beloved Soul Striker leader. So let's get into it. So as we can see right here, we have the Son Goku leader from the Realm of the Gods set, and he's peculiar in that he does not have your typical when he attacks effect. Instead, he has an activate battle skill that says that you could discard a Saiyan card from your hand to draw a card and add a card from your life to your hand. And then you negate that skill for that battle. So if he gets attacked multiple times, you get to use the effect multiple times. Once you have 2 or less life, or you could put 5 Saiyans from your drop underneath him, you get to draw 3 cards and switch them to switch one energy to active mode. On the back, he becomes SSG Son Goku Crimson Warrior, and in this case, he attacks, draws a card, and switch to active mode one of your mono blue energy. So that is where the Soul Striker comparison kind of comes into play. In fact, people thought that Soul Striker might have been touched on the ban list because this guy seems like a fixed version. But what he actually is just a different card altogether. He has this great activate battle on the backside that says you may put a card from underneath him to the drop area in order to give him plus 2k power. Now that is an X ability, so you can place any number of cards that are underneath him to the drop. If you place 3 or more at one time, you get to draw an additional card and untap one more additional mono blue energy. So when you're tapped out, it gives you great defensive options, and I just believe that that is a strong factor to using him. Now I'm just going to go through the Unison selection pretty quickly. If you've been watching my streams, which I suggest you do, over on Twitch, I have the information right here on the screen. You'll see how the gameplay is and everything like that. But we start off with 3 copies of Tapion. Tapion is your card draw engine basically, because blue, one of the big knocks against it is that it doesn't get a large hand size without some help. The Majin Buu Unison of course helped that, but in this deck I don't want to wait until turn 4 to play my Unison. So we have Tapion, he +2s, draws you a card, and then he has ±0 and has the ability to pump your leader +10. Now, he also has this really great Spirit Boost ability that we take advantage of, which says that when a marker is moved from him during your turn with Spirit Boost, you may choose one of your opponent's battle cards with cost greater than their current energy and return it to their hand. So that's great in several matchups like Sen Shenron and things of that nature. We are currently playing 2 copies of SSG Vegeta Silent Strike. This is the new Unison. This has Empower 3 for a blue Unison. And what that allows it to do is get played over a Unison such as Tapion and retain 3 of the markers that were on it. Tapion builds up pretty fast. He starts at 5 basically, and he is a little hard to knock down to 0. So you're usually able to pay 2 to play this guy and have him come in with 5 markers. His +1 allows you to draw 2, take 2 from your hand and put it to the bottom of the deck. And then he has a -X that allows you to remove any number of markers on him to put that many of your opponent's battle cards on the bottom of their deck. If you remove 4 markers or more, he gets +10k and double strike. So he's a decent finisher when they think you don't really have much else going on. Of course, Unison Support. We are looking at 4 copies of God Sealing. Great card, it just doesn't hit as much as it used to. Everything seems to be getting deflect nowadays. 3 copies of Heroic Prospect. Again, it punishes decks that try to go above curve by playing things for really cheap or free. If you have a Unison now, you can play him for 1, and if your opponent attacks you with a card greater than their current energy, that take 2 cards from their hand and put it to the bottom of the deck, which usually allows you to slow down if not end turns. Then lastly, 2 copies of SSG Vegeta Thwarting the Enemy. Now this card series was made to deal with Reboot Gohan, but they banned the leader before it could happen. Basically, he is a negate that comes into play for 1 and enters in rest mode. But you could Spirit Boost 2 to play him for free. If you negate a leader swing with him, that leader cannot attack again. Doesn't come up that often, but one example of where it does is the Raditz leader. So if you're having issues with hand control or a leader like that, try him out. He's pretty good. 2 copies of Great Sandman. This searches your Unison. Also searches a bunch of your other Saiyans in the deck, and it just does a quick top 5 search for those cards. Now he does have his own engine. I don't run a lot of the cards, only run a few. Next up, we play 2 copies of Adele Harness Power. This Adele right here counts as a Saiyan. She is also a negate for 1 energy, but she bursts 1 as an additional cost. That, along with the fact she counts as a Saiyan, allows you to fill your drop area a little bit quickly. And then get to the point where you could wake your leader with 5 guys in your drop. Next up, we have 4 copies of Son Gohan Harness Power. So both of these have the same auto, which says that when it's sent to the drop area due to your Crimson Warrior leader skill from underneath it, you are allowed to combo with it from the drop area if you don't have any cards in your combo area. So usually if you're going to use this effect, you want it to be the first thing that you do, using one of these, and then you get the combo with it. In case of the Gohan, at the end of the combo, you may pay blue to play him for free, and not play him for free, but play him in rest mode. And the last card that is part of his whole card group he got is SSG Son Goku Miraculous Transformation. So this guy right here is a complete house. He is a 20k triple strike barrier deflect that also is a counterattack. Its cost gets reduced by 1 for each of your opponent's energy. So usually you just have to have 3 energy up, negate, and he plays himself. When he plays in rest mode, and that's important because while he's in rest mode, your opponent battle cards cannot attack you. So that means that if they swing with leader first, you negate until they get over this card. That basically ends their turn. But this makes him a great unison killer with the triple strike and the barrier. And then of course he could put work in on your opponent by swinging and being a semi-safe thing to combo in on. So because we run the little Saiyans, I run the Calamity Challenger engine. So we play 3 copies of this Gohan. This Gohan comes out by putting the a 3-drop or less Saiyan without unique on the bottom of your deck. You play them, and then it gets you a Tapion with cost 4 or less to your hand. So he could reset your Heroic Prospects. He could put back your Searchers, your Negates, as well as these guys if you really needed to. The Tapion you are grabbing is Tapion Calamity Challenger. This guy has Spirit Boost 1, play him if you have 3 or more energy, and you get to draw a card. He is a double striker for 20k, and by Spirit Boosting to play him, you of course trigger this guy's effect to remove something on the table. Then we have 2 copies of Son Goku Calamity Challenger. He's a deflect blocker. That's 15k. He comes down if you have 3 or more energy. He draws you a card. Just a solid card overall. Next, we're gonna get into the. Let's get into the super combo. So I've run a split. I run 2 copies of Adele and 2 copies of Vegeta. So my old ways will never leave me. I do believe you need to have some copies of 0-10K super combos available to you. These super combos are great, don't get me wrong, but if you're being rushed down early, and you want to not be beat down too hard, these super combos don't do anything for you, but this one can, because it's always at least 10K. Two copies of the ape. Now, this is something I vacillated on. My friends know that I like a lot the Bardock ape. That ape is really, really good, but for the same amount of energy, I get to use 2 less cards. But basically, he's there to not only draw you cards, because of course that's what ape is there to do, but to give you something to do with your energy in the cases that you don't have anything else really going on. He's also a Saiyan, so you can pitch it to the leader's front side ability to use this effect to set it up for drawing later on. Ultimate Radiant Saiyans. So I think one of the things that come up is that a lot of people are surprised by how aggressive this deck is. So they don't see like, oh man, he just played like 4 or 5 dudes, 20K plus. Radiant Saiyans help towards that as well. You know, you going in, you combo with this thing, bring it out, and you're just pressuring your opponent. It also gives you defensive options. Your opponent's board getting kind of crazy. You could combo this, pay 2, and then put 4 of their cards on the bottom of the deck. So it does both offense and defense. I think it's a good card. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. 1 copy of Bardock fighting against Fate. This is, of course, another finisher, another Saiyan. So if need be, you can pitch it. We all know it's good. Secret Identity. We don't have a whole lot of removal. Secret Identity is one of the few pieces we have. We have Bounce, we have Tucking. That's about it, but that's why we have him. Next up, the 1 non-Saiyan battle card besides Tapion in the deck. Obuni. 2 copies of Obuni. Let me move this over here and make it a little bit more presentable. 2 copies of Obuni. He is still good. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Obuni comes down, makes you the tokens, put plenty of pressure on the board, and then from that point, allows you to untap an additional energy, assuming that you call right on your opponent. Plain blue, so we got 4 copies of Senzu Bean. That should go without saying. And then lastly, for our extra card negate, we run Chill's Army's Reinforcement. Now, the reason for running Chill's Army Reinforcement is that I cannot always reliably have 5 in a drop. When you build up your drop, you take 5 away by making this guy, and then you, of course, you have your overwhelm. So this is almost always good. It also blocks 2 attacks, and I don't have issues with not having energy open due to the fact that this guy untaps 1 on swing. Obuni could untap me 1, and if I am tapped out, I could put 3 to the drop to untap an additional 1, draw cards, use beans, things like that. So yes, this is a blue deck without D-Magic. If you want to run D-Magic, that's fine. I'm not going to knock you, but I have not missed it or felt a need for it. So that is it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is VG Time, signing out.